Hello everyone, it's Jennifer and thank you for joining me today. We're going to put a bracelet together. We're going to use some of this waxed polyester thread. This is the Gudebrod thread company and I got this at Michael's and I love this wax thread. It's thin enough to where I can actually fit 2 strands plus my 49 strand soft flex metallic flex wire. I can actually fit in all 3 strands into these gorgeous dragon's blood jaspers. These are actually these are the 6mm. And if you have your double gemstone beads of the month club or your gemstones beads of the month club, it is box number 4. Now, if you want to see an unboxing of all the different sizes and shapes that I have, use the link in the description and that will take you there. Now, this is what we're going to do. I don't know how long I need to make this. I want to work from the spool because I don't want to waste any, but I also don't want to not cut enough, right? And so what I have done is I cut, because I want to have about a 6 3/4 inch bracelet, and this is going to be for me, so it doesn't need to be adjustable. And so I cut 7 feet plus an extra foot for good measure, so I guess I have 8 feet here, and we will see how much we need to use up. And I love this thread. It's thin enough to where I can get multiple strands through a gemstone, as well as it's a 3-ply, and so it's very sturdy and durable, and it's waxed just enough to where it's not sticky and tacky to your fingers, but it will stay stiff enough to where you can easily thread without having a needle. So let me share with you. Oh, we're also going to use magical crimping pliers and I got these from Soft Flex as well. The difference between these and a standard crimping plier is that you'll see that there's only one well here. And with the standard crimping pliers, which I have here, you have the 2 different wells that you use. So you're going to use the back well for the first little crimp, makes it like a crescent moon. Then you're going to round it off with the top crimp. And I do like using those too, but when I'm going to be using these 2x2 crimp tubes from Soft Flex company, I do like to use the magical crimper. What is so magical about this crimper? Well, what it does is it takes this crimp tube that you see, it's a 2x2 crimp tube. Your first little squeeze or little crimp will flatten out, not flatten out, but it will form like a square, and it pinches the 4 corners of the crimp tube. So it is important to have it centered when you start to crimp down, and we'll go over that. Then what you're going to do is you turn it sideways, and then you just start crimping around. And when you're all done, when you stop feeling the tension, you end up with a bead-like finish, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And so that's what we're going to do here. Now, since we're doing it this way, and since this waxed polyester thread, it does slide easily on this one. I love this metallics flex wire. It's a 49 strand. It has that antique brass color coating over it, and I just absolutely love it. It's so sturdy. And so we're just going to go ahead and use that as for our base. And then what I'll do is I'll probably just take a piece of painter's tape so that it doesn't ruin, and we'll tape this down on this end. And so then I will use the actual spool as the other end when we go to thread, because I don't want to thread on all of my beads and then go through and do my macrame. Oh, we're going to do macrame. We're going to do some macrame. But instead of having the string or the thread go around the bead, I am actually going to put the 2 strands of the wire of this thread through the bead. Then what I'm going to do, so I guess I can't tape it down. Then what I'm going to do is it's easier for me to stuff this thicker material through as the 3rd strand. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I guess I don't need to have it weighted down. I have a couple of small jump rings. These are 4mm jump rings, and I brought out 2 just because but these are sturdy enough. They look sturdy enough, and we'll be able to get that lobster clasp on there. I have some wire guardians because I do like to use the wire guardians too. And then I have a thick twisted jump ring. It is open, but it's very thick and twisted. I don't like to use open jump rings for my connections, but there are some that I will use. And then I have a lobster clasp, and this is from my lobster clasp assorted lobster clasp from John Bead. All right, so to get started, the first thing that I want to do, and I'm not going to do any crimping yet, and this will slide up and down, so I will be able to get a good feel of how much I'm going to need. And I do that by just kind of what I'll do, and I don't know if this is correct, but it gives me a good idea. And I will just kind of sit this underneath it because it's going to go underneath it like that. I will sit this like on top of it a little bit since it's going to go here, and this is going to go here on this. And what I do is I just look at that and bring out my tape measure here and see that it's about 1 inch. So I need about 5 3/4 inches of my bracelet here. And so once I have all that, then I will know that I will have enough to make my bracelet. All right, so we will keep these off to the side. We will keep our 2x2 crimp tubes. And again, I love these. They are great. I use them for my fine line. They are gold filled. So these are gold filled crimp tubes and very thick walls and just very sturdy and reliable. All right, so let's go ahead and put that there. Oh, we want it to sit up just a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my long piece of thread here, and I want to join the 2 ends, and then just go ahead and hope that I don't have it all twisted. There we go. And I do have it twisted a little bit. All right, because I was trying to measure out how much I actually had. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to find our end just like so. And I believe there's probably several different ways to start out. I just will typically do the lark's knot for me. And that's just because too, then I know that I have it nice and centered. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and do that just like so. I'm going to bring 1 around the back. Oops. 1 around the back. And again, this slides up and down, so that's good because then I will be able to adjust. Okay, so let me get this all straightened out here and we'll come right back. So with macrame, you just want to mind your P's and Q's, and that's how I learned. I learned by making a P and then a Q, and that's what completes your knot. And so what you're going to do is you're going to first take your right hand side and you're going to form your P. There's the P. Okay. Then you're going to take your left hand side, and now what you're going to do is you are going to go over. So you're going to go over the strand right here. So you're going to go over your P. You're going to go under the core and over the top of this side. And we don't have to worry about keeping it centered at all because we did that lark's knot at the beginning. Again, you can just, if you want, you can just tie a knot at the top, or you can start doing your P's and Q's. But for me, it's just easier to go ahead and do the lark's knot, and it just gets absorbed. It just gets absorbed in there. Now, the thing is I have 1,000 tools sitting over here on my right, so everything is gonna get switched over here. But now I have my Q, And now I'm going to put my right side over the left. And again, this is probably, let's go ahead and do this. If this is easier to be seen like that. Maybe that is a little easier to see. We'll see. I'll do it both ways. All right, so now we're going to take our left side and go over the core. We're going to take our right side and go over the strand. Then we're going to go ahead and go under the core and go over that second strand and just kind of hold it in place. Since you're working with such a long piece, you'll want to just kind of hold it in place. And there we go. So there is one full. And what we'll do is we'll just do maybe we'll just do maybe 3. Let's just do 3 sets. And then we'll see how long that is. So we'll go ahead and go over. Now you probably can't see this piece. So let's just go back. We're just going to go back. All right, so now we're just going to go over that core. We're going to take our left strand. So here's our P. This is so hard to demonstrate, especially since I have a long piece. Then we're going to go ahead and bring this left side. We're going to bring this left side, and it's going over. So it's going over our P. Then we're going to go under the core, up over the top of that other side. Okay, and there's our P. And it's very easy if you get distracted or not. If you get interrupted, I should say that. If you get interrupted, it's kind of hard to remember where I was. Am I at a P or a Q? And so a lot of times I have to go back and watch all over again to see where I was. All right, so now I have my Q and I'm going over. So this right strand is going over the left. I'm going to just pick up the core and go under it and go over that other piece. And just remember that that was my Q. And I have one more P to do, one more P and Q to do. So let's go ahead. And again, I have all of my tools over on the side here, and so they're getting caught up. All right, so now let's go ahead. And we have our P. I have my left strand that I'm going to go under and over, and that's my P. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do our Q. Keep that there, like so, and then there we have. So now what I want to do is I want to take my 2 ends. So I'm going to take my 2 ends, just like so. And it's sometimes easier to have them just a little offset. And then I'm going to take one of my stones and pass that through, just like so. And again, I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll see. We'll see if it's pretty or not. Then what I want to do is I'm going to take my core and I'm also going to pass that through. And this is because I don't want to have the thread going on the outside. So now I'm just going to go ahead and push all of this up. It worked. Okay. All right. So now we're just going to do 3 sets of our P's and Q's. And there is our, let's get this. There's our P. I'm going over the strand, under the core, and over the P. And then I just want to remember that that was a P and I need to do a Q. Up, I feel like I must have grabbed, so having this here is not always very good because it got twisted in there. All right, so let's try that again. Let's do our P. And then so we're going to do our P. And sometimes what I do after I get going is I just kind of grab it like this and then just push it under and over. And then I can very easily hold that together. And then it doesn't look so painful. So there's the P. And now let's do the Q. And so then I'll just grab this, go over, and then just kind of grab it like so. And that's a little easier too. And then there's the Q. Okay. Maybe I'll just do 2 in between. Or I could just do the 1. That actually looks kind of good like that. I think we're just going to do 1 in between, and then we'll just do the 3 on the end. Okay, so now what we'll do, so we'll do 1 more, and then I'll do the rest off camera. It will probably be too painful to watch. Plus, I'd probably be here until next week doing this on camera. And then I just want to keep them just a little off-centered or off-leveled there, and then pass them both through, because it's easier to kind of get one through and then get the other through, just like so, right? Then let's go ahead and grab the thicker wire, and there we go. So then we'll just start pushing all that through. And I'm really liking this. If someone's already done this, I apologize. I haven't seen it, so that's why I'm doing it. That is really, really pretty. I really like that. I really like that a lot. So we're going to go ahead and, I'm just going to go ahead and do the 1, well, the 1 P and Q in between. That's really pretty. So I'm going to continue on until I get 5 3/4, actually, yeah, 5 3/4 from here. And then on the other end, I'll bring you back before I tie it off. We are going to tie it off in a knot, and then it'll look just like that. And then we'll just zap it. We'll use a thread zapper to get that all nice and melted down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and continue doing my P's and Q's, which is great because then I'm going to know that if I have one little knot in here, that I know that it's a P and I know it's a Q. And if I don't have multiples, then in between beads, then that will save me the headache of having to go back and look to see where I was, because I get to talking, I just get interrupted a little, and then, yeah. So I am just going to continue on just like so. And it's actually working out really well with having this on the spool still. I kind of dig it. All right, and so I'm going to continue on, and then I'll come right back. So we are down to the end, and this is how many I got, and I have about, it's about 5 1/2-ish, maybe 5 3/4. Yeah, almost 5 3/4. And so this is about where I need it. And I still have it attached to the spool. And now what I'm going to do is I did my last 3 P's and Q's here. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just tie an overhand knot. Okay, and what I found is that, which any of you that do macrame, you know that I had a ridiculously long strand, and I didn't do what I had intended to do, so that was a big part of it. And also too, I was kind of erring on the side of caution here. So I'm going to go ahead and tie the knot. And what you can do is you can leave this for dangles and have dangles, or you can just go ahead and come in, and I'm just going to come in and make sure that that gets nice and hot there, and just make sure I'm going over the string. And I have a good, like, oh my gosh, I probably have 6 feet here. Okay, and you can also trim it. So let's go ahead and I'll show you trimming it. You can also trim it. Leave yourself a little nubby. That's probably a little too much of a nubby. And go ahead and cut a little bit more. Just cut a little bit off of that. Can't get in there with my big scissors. Well, we'll just go ahead and just melt it down. It's a little too long, but we'll just go ahead and melt it down and just melt it into place. All right, if it needs to be a little bit more, just get in there a little bit more if it sticks out like it was. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and finish this off. And we're gonna do that by adding a crimp tube, adding a wire guardian, and we don't have to worry about adding anything to this wire first because we're not attaching anything directly. I know I could do the lobster clasp, but sometimes I just like the lobster clasp to be with a jump ring. Just feels like it's easier to go on. All right, so now what I like to do is I don't want that waste, and I don't want my jump ring to get caught in between the wire and the wire guardian. That's why we have a wire guardian. I don't want the metal on my wire guardian, or on my wire. And I don't want my jump ring to come open through a tiny opening of the wire. So I just grab that front notch of the standard crimper tool, or the standard crimper tool, and just go ahead and come in just like so. Now what I'm going to do is I am going, and again, you can use the standard crimper here, but I'm going to go ahead and use my magical crimper, and I'm going to come into this well here and make sure I'm in the center, and then just crimp down. And when I do that, the 4 corners are pinched in. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and get in the center there again, and then just start going around. And I go around until there's no tension. And I just make sure that I am in the center there. And finesse it through, and you can see that there's still tension because as I was crimping down, the wire guardian was spinning. So you just have to kind of turn and turn and turn. I could still feel a little bit of tension there. And a little bit more. And there we go. And so we have that nice bead-like finish. Isn't that pretty? So now I'm going to go ahead and come in with my cutters, my flush cutters, and I'm going to come in as close as I can to that crimp tube. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is it's going to take a little bit of finessing, but I have this extra here. So I'm just going to start scooching, and it scooches fairly easily. Going to continue scooching until I get down to that area, just like so. And I want to make sure that there's no gaps in between my beads and that everything is pretty much spaced exactly how I want it. I don't want my beads sitting on top of those macrame knots either. So this is the time that you will do this. Okay, so that looks perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give it a trim here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my, I could probably add my jump ring, this one here. so I don't have to open it. Go ahead and add my wire guardian. I'm going to go ahead and pass that back through, just like so. And like I said, I can go ahead and add my jump ring there. Even though it's an open jump ring, if I don't have to open it, I don't want to. So let's go ahead and pass this through. There we go. And then let's just bring that down. And sometimes it's easier to bring down the wire once I get this kind of tightened up there. It's easier for it to come down. Okay, and there we go. Let's give a little bit of wiggle room. Let's make sure we can move and we can move. Make sure that those are separated. Let's get right in the center. I want to make sure that I don't have any piece of my crimp tube sticking out. Let's go a little bit. Oops, I went a little bit too much. Let's go there. Make sure we're in the middle and give it a little bit of a squeeze. And there we go. Then let's go ahead and now start crimping around. Let's crimp around, crimp around. And the jump ring does kind of get in the way a little bit, but that's all right. The finished product looks so good when taking the time to use the magical crimpers. And then just spin around, and there we go. We have that beautiful bead-like finish. Now what's tricky is coming in here, and we left enough room because we don't want to snip that cord that we just had. All right. Not that much waste at all, considering, you know, working from the spool. Like I said, it does have its perks. Sometimes the spool does get in the way. I know, but sometimes, most of the time, it doesn't. All right, so now let's grab a pair of chain nose pliers, and I am going to select a second pair of chain nose pliers rather than using my fingers. Let's go ahead and add that on there. Get this added on. I think I'm only going to get one in there. And these aren't super thick jump rings, but they're not thin either, like super thin. Okay, go ahead and lock that in place. And there we have. Oh my gosh, I love it. So cute, so simple, so easy. Well, I say simple. It took me probably about an hour, but I did get interrupted a couple times. But there you go. There is a cute little bracelet, and you can, like I said, you can dangle stuff off of the ends if you want to. If I were to dangle, I would dangle off of the side that has the lobster clasp, so you're not fighting with it over here on this end. You can also keep these long and add dangles that way, but this is exactly what I was wanting and what I was needing, and I love it. So please give this video a huge thumbs up if you like it. Comment. I love to see what everybody has to say, and subscribe. Don't forget to go check out Beads of the Month Club from Adornable Elements. I will have the link in the description below, as well as, yes, there is a coupon code. So this is a subscription, and if you use Bella10, you will get 10% off of your first order. And don't forget to add on your companions packs for your crystals and for your findings. Next video is going to be a bracelet using some of the little findings we have in this pack. And until next time, have a good one.